10 things you didn't know about Think and Grow Rich, Part 2. Recessions and depressions happen to individuals who are overcome by fear, negativity, limitation, and have no mastermind alliance, which we'll talk about in a minute. Hill's great book has helped elevate those of us that read it out of fear into faith. Fear is faith going the wrong direction. Fear is a one-way elevator going down. It helps you accomplish nothing. That's what fear does. What do we do to accomplish our dreams? You got to implode hope. You got to implode desire. On page 36 of the paperback edition in Think and Grow Rich, it says, write your goals and read them breakfast, lunch, dinner, and most importantly, before you go to sleep at night, because the subconscious, superconscious, and the God consciousness of you never falls asleep. That's why you don't fall up out of bed in the middle of the night. Well, that inspired Jack and I to carry this little 3x5 card. We read it 4 times a day faithfully, out loud, sometimes in the mirror, quietly to ourselves. But it says, I am so happy and glad that I'm selling 1.5 million books in a year and a half. And it was signed by Jack and I and our publisher. And we started in June 28th, 1993. And by Christmas, 1994, we'd sold 1.3 million. Now we're 200,000 copies short. But the next year we wrote down that we'd sell 5 million copies. And the next year after that, we said, what the heck, let's go for 10 million. And we sold 10 million. Next year after that, we sold 15 million copies a year and did that for a couple of years. Now we sold over 500 million. Now that's bodacious, but when you write a goal, set a goal, and make it clear, your mind is teleological. That means it goes exactly towards what you want. And Napoleon Hill, as I said, learned this from Andrew Carnegie in session part 1 of this. Courageously, we wrote down what would happen. Now, like I said, we worked consistently, insistently, persistently, and it worked. Now, when Dr. Hill interviewed Andrew Carnegie for 3 days at his home in New York, which I want you to visit, at 60th Street and 92nd Avenue, it's now owned by Smithsonian, costs you $5 to get in. First line says, authors are the wealth of the nation. I'd change it to world, but it's in marble, so that's not going to happen. And no man can get rich without enriching all others. Well, Hill stayed there, when he was interviewing him. But what Andrew Carnegie taught Hill is you got to have a mastermind alliance. That's 2 come together to have the power of 11. Now, Andy knew the Bible really well, and what he did is the line in the Bible, 1 can move 1,000, but 2 can move 10,000. Well, he also said, you got to, in a mastermind alliance, hear this loud and clear. I'll repeat it twice. You got to be in a spirit of cooperative harmony. Spirit. Remember, you got a body, you got a brain, which is what universities and colleges and high schools and tech schools plowed in you. You got a mind which can think with both imagination and intuition, but bigger than it, you got a spirit, you got a soul. Soul is unlimited. Soul is connected to God. Soul goes to infinite intelligence. Soul goes to infinite awareness. Soul is where you're going to find infinite money. That's why it's Think and Grow Rich. But everyone got along blissfully in agreement to do impossible tasks. Carnegie read the Bible and noted Jesus never did his first water to wine miracle until he had 12 disciples synchromesh working together. And he said, look, if it works for the big guy, it's going to work for me. And he became vastly the richest man of his time, influential, founded thousands of libraries, Carnegie Hall, where one of my daughters has sung twice, right? The same thing he did in Europe. I've been to his house and stayed at it at great expense, where Madonna got married in Scotland, in Dornoch. The point is, he heard the principle, learned the principle, apprehended, comprehended, personally used it. Principles are like 2 times 2 equals 4. Once you know them forever. Learn these principles. Take ownership of these principles. Go over them again and again. Point number 8. Where did the ideas for Think and Grow Rich originate? At one time, I was part of an eager group to write the inside story of Dr. Napoleon Hill. I learned that at age 17, as a young journalist, he got an invitation to interview the world's richest man, Andrew Carnegie, in his mansion at 2 East 92nd Street, New York. It's now, as I said, a museum run by the Smithsonian Institute. He interviewed him for 3 endless days. It became a book I've got on my shelf here. Beautiful interviews. How to raise your own salary. As you read the book, you'll feel like an insider on the richest man in the world, what he did, how he did it, with whom, and that you can do it too. Principles are infinitely usable. And if we're going into recessed times or depressed times, you're going to say, I don't want to be part of it. Carnegie went through the vicissitudes of life and the economies and made more all the time. You can do the same if you listen to this again and again, catch it, and then study it. Number 9, ask yourself the question. And this is the kind of stuff that we teach in my best-selling book, Ask. I wrote with my wife, The Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. We say you got to ask 3 things. You got to ask yourself, ask others, you got to ask God. Those tunnels. And then you got to overcome all the roadblocks to asking, like a sense of unworthiness or excusology or disconnection. And we go through all of those. But the question Hill asked was, how do I get a phenomenal title for thinking? He didn't have Think and Grow Rich originally. Originally, it was titled as How to Make a Boodle with Your Noodle. His publisher in Philadelphia originally, it's been published by a lot of people since then, didn't like it and said, look, Hill, I'll go with it tomorrow unless you come up with a better title. Now, he used what we teach in our Ask book, which you go into, cut out all the noise right before you go to sleep, 100 times before you go to sleep, do the same thing. Jack and I said, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title. And Jack called me at 2:58 in the morning, said, chicken soup. I said, for the soul, this is before cell phones. Woke up early in the house. And we got goosebumps with 144 people, 44 publishers turned it down. Ask was rejected by the biggest publisher. Publisher who took it is happy because we're number 1. The point is, Hill went to bed and just prior to sleep, he kept repeating over 100 times to himself, best-selling title, best-selling title, best-selling title, best-selling title. Middle of the night, it clicked. Now, this will work for any question you want to ask, but you want to ask positive questions that'll take you where you want to go, not negative questions that'll take you cascading down. You want to not go in an avalanche down. You want to go up and be massively successful, have a lot of achievement, have love, joy, unlimited happiness, and wake up your infinite intelligence. Because your thought command goes from conscious to subconscious to superconscious, God conscious, and comes back as the answer if you get rid of the noise, like I said. And we listen to too much media, read too much negative stuff, think about all the problems, get rid of them. In the middle of the night, the title sprung into Hill's head. So excited, he instantly awakened the publisher, who was not happy. And he said, look, Hill, I'll go with this, but I don't know. I'll see. Well, it sold hundreds of millions of foundation stone for many men's and women's wealth, right livelihood, and fantastic futures. And I've literally met him in 80 countries I've been to, talking to 7 million people live. Hill was correctly called the millionaire maker, and he was as beloved by Mahatma Gandhi, and I'm a scholar in Gandhi and lived in India for a long time and studied there. And thanks to the enlightening book that continued to make millionaires more than any other book. Number 10, I am a proud recipient of the Horatio Alger Award for Distinguished Men, as was Clem Stone, as was Mary Kay, as is Philip Bonschutz now, as is John Paul DeJoria, as is one of my classmates, Tom Selleck. 10 of us went into the U.S. Supreme Court. And it's only the men and women who have risen from proverbial rags to riches and become individually and collectively, excessively, exceedingly philanthropic. Because remember, the Bible is real clear. It says in Genesis 1:28, you're made in the image and likeness of God, and you're here to do 3 C's. Create, 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 create. That's why it's think, create, contribute, right? Greatest servant is the greatest rewards, right? Service precedes rewards. And number 3, then be charitable. Well, I probably received the induction in the great organization. You can watch all the videos at horatioalger.org, and myself and all my peers, and it'd be good education for you. And Napoleon Hill would agree with all these. These are the same kind of guys, the 500 he interviewed. But I won it in 2000 and got the medal from Judge Clarence Thomas, who I think the world of. It's an amazing group of people that get together annually, raising scholarships for at-risk students and training entrepreneurship. We've helped over 35,000 students get a scholarship or a skills scholarship or become entrepreneurs. And we recommend all of them. Think and Grow Rich, because every one of my peers, to a man or woman, curious enough, worked as a kid and curious enough to read Think and Grow Rich. Most of the men were also Eagle Scouts, which is amazing to me. In the last 2 decades of annual attendance, I've met all my colleagues. Every one of them said they benefited from understanding, using the principles and philosophy of this great book. Carnegie taught Hill. Hill taught us. Each of us needs a mentor, and we need to be a mentee, and then we got to mentor somebody else. That's the divine cycle. Learn, earn, and then return. It's a triangle of life, and you all know that. That's why America is a light beacon for the world of free enterprise, works for those who work. We have equal opportunity, but it's based on one thing: competence. I am competent as a writer, competent as a speaker, competent to put business deals together in a massive way and make everybody better off. We need to keep free enterprise free. And my father always taught me the more enterprising you are, the freer you are. So equal opportunity of confidence has us advance courageously forward to our individual and collective desired destinies. And if we do better, the whole world does better.